What is an underrated horror film more people should see? As soon as I hear this question, my brain always goes to Housebound. It's a New Zealand flick done in the same vein of horror comedy as Peter Jackson's early stuff. It's about a woman on house arrest whose house is haunted as F. There's a part with a teddy bear that's as terrifying as it is hilarious, and that's an incredibly precarious balance for a film to get right. Can't recommend this one enough. Yes, this film was fantastic. Horror comedy is so hard to get right, but this film pulled it off beautifully. A British film called Dog Soldiers. Great characters, soldiers who look out for each other, band together and fight back hard, interesting plot, and a good mix of tension horror and straight blood and guts horror, plus some typically British dark humor thrown in as well. Dog Soldiers also has my favorite portrayal of werewolves regards on how they look physically. Very creepy and terrifying to look at. Dog Soldiers is one of my favorite werewolf movies, along with An American Werewolf in London. Plus, werewolves that actually look and act like wolves rather than monstermen in fuzzy suits. Howling Pack Hunters. Pumpkinhead. Frankenstein's Army. Some of the most creative monster designs I've seen in a while. For an Australian/New Zealand film perspective, The Loved Ones. Housebound. Black Sheep. Deathgasm. Bad Taste. Brain Dead. YouTube link. Event Horizon, Possession, and In the Mouth of Madness are Sam Neill's holy trinity of horror films. Fido. I thought it was hilarious and such an interesting cross of concepts, a zombie ending up with a 1950s housewife and being a boy's best friend. It sounds wholesome, but there is still a bunch of murder and horror involved, just blurs the line on if day-to-day life and society are more horrific than a zombie hitting on your mom. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of this sort of horror crossover, or maybe I've simply missed it. Stir of Echoes. The Wailing. If I recall correctly, it's a Norwegian film called Troll Hunter. Basically, it's a found-footage film about hunting trolls. But it uses the Norwegian mythology of them mixed with modern tech analysis. So using UV lights to hunt them, etc. Really interesting watch. This was a very good movie. I saw it a few years ago, but just found a copy of it last week on an old hard drive, and am I planning to watch it this weekend again. Coherence and the Invitation. Coherence freaked me the hell out and one of the best sci-fi ever, also made on a shoestring budget. Hush. It's a really good home invasion movie about this deaf writer trying to fight off her invader. It's got some super dark moments, like when he goes after her neighbors first. Her neighbor is pounding on the protagonist's glass side door, screaming for help, as the invader runs up behind her, but obviously, she isn't heard. May. Noroi, The Curse. Fairly obscure found-footage J-horror from 2005 that's never been widely released over here, although I think it is on Shudder if you've got that. It's a mock documentary about a paranormal investigator looking into bizarre happenings that all tie back to a rural mountain town, and it's a masterpiece of slowly building dread. Still, probably the scariest film I've ever seen, and I watch a lot of horror. Bonus underrated found-footagers, home movie, The Poughkeepsie Tapes, Creep, Hell House LLC. Okay. Have 5 titles. It Stains the Sands Red, 2016, Las Vegas, The Zombie Apocalypse Has Begun, Exotic dancer Molly thinks she has it made, fleeing with a rich guy, Nick in his sports car. Racing away from the city on the highway far from the carnage, towards salvation, a distant airfield for a flight out of the country. Her hopes get squashed when their car gets stuck in the sands, becoming nightmarish when Nick is murdered, devoured by an undead man as he tries to get the car freed. With no recourse, Molly runs into the desert blind, a general direction, hoping to reach that private flight before it takes off. But her situation grows dire still, that same living dead fellow is now pursuing her, a one-on-one horror drama. It never rests and won't stop till it gets her. Howl, 2015. The red-eye train from London to Eastborough, England, comes to a halt due to an impact with a deer, leaving the train's fuel line damaged. The conductor leaves the engine to assess the damage. He never came back. Joe Griffin wasn't supposed to be on board the Alpha Trax train. He was forced into a double shift. He and the tea trolley girl, Ellen, are the only company staff left. It was a skeleton crew. What starts off as a light mystery and inconvenience turns into a bloody nightmare. The radio is busted, the antenna torn off and miles away from Eastborough in the rain, isolated in the woods. The passengers and crew are being hunted by werewolves. It's up to their collective resources to last the night if they can stop bickering. To make matters worse, one of the passengers has been bitten, and it's a full moon. Siberia, 2013. Not a movie, but a short-run supernatural TV series, drenched in dread and atmosphere, ran for 12 weeks on NBC, but failed in the ratings, not well known. Not even a cult series. Many have called this a mashup of Lost and Survivor, which is what it is, the best of both. Siberia is a real Thai TV show where 16 contestants are blindfolded and dropped in the middle of nowhere in the Siberian region of Tunguska. The goal is to be the last one standing, survive the winter as people did in the early 1900s and win $500,000 or split among the few who endured. No modern amenities, their suitcases and packs were not given, only what they are wearing is what they have. There are no rules, trust no one. The show breaks down early when one of the Russian cameramen comes into the settlement, bloody. Production shuts down as they reveal one of the contestants has died of injuries from a fall. After serious debating, the competition is agreed to continue. One of them searches for answers and discovers the location. There was no fall. He died of being torn apart as seen by the bloody stains. Things get much worse when a serious injury occurs and discovering there is no help coming. The exit, the forfeit button, is fiction. And the occurrences are not part of the show. This game wasn't a game. This is an experiment by unseen hands to explore the phenomena of the area. The harsh weather is the least of their worries. They are the third iteration. The DVD is titled Season 1, but it's really the complete series. There was no Season 2 and it ends on a cliffhanger. It's a well-deserved trip. The actors were not given scripts, their interactions looked genuine since they were all role-playing, only given character personalities and plot points. The result is natural actions. Highly recommend. Clues to what's going on were sprinkled in the early episodes, none of it was spoon-fed. Many blink and miss it moments plus serious twists. It will keep you guessing and bitch-slap your suspicions, repeatedly. Witches in the Woods, 2019. 5 friends take a shortcut, a snowboarding trip at a skiing resort. Their SUV becomes stranded due to an accident, no help and no cell service, nobody knows they're there. Night brings a sudden temperature drop, left with no choice but to run the engine to keep the heater on. But their problem isn't what's happening outdoors, but rather what's going on inside. The group starts to unravel from the stress. And one of their own is having a mental breakdown? These woods were cursed a century earlier, the result of an alleged witch execution. Is this just disintegration or dark forces in the forest, a possession? Was the car crash an accident? Before dawn, the friends will be greeted with violent decisions and circumstances which will test their bonds, transforming into a witch hunt. The Void, 2016. Deputy Daniel Carter finds an injured man on the roadway. He's taken to the nearest medical center, which is on its last night, to be closed from fire damage. A new hospital is already open, but a distance away. Carter is joined by a state trooper who found a bloody farmhouse, where the man fled. Soon the locale is surrounded by robed cultists, killing anyone trying to leave. Much worse inside, law enforcement and skeleton crew encounter the cult's leader who has discovered a way to create life. He plans to use the people inside as playthings, as were the victims in the farmhouse. This was an independent, crowdsourced funded film with predominantly practical effects, augmented with light CGI for wire removal. Heavily influenced by John Carpenter films, The Thing, 1982, and Prince of Darkness, 1987. The Love Witch and the Hidden Face. The Love Witch is like an homage to sexploitation films, but it is very well made and has good commentary. You are better going into The Hidden Face not knowing anything about it, but it is a 7.3 on IMDb, which is a very high rating. Rec, and Rec 2. Almost impossible to find the original rec with English subtitles, most streams have English dub. Unless you fly a skull and crossbones flag. But Rec 2 with English subtitles is available on Vudu, Play Store, and YouTube. Rec Trailer. Rec 2 Trailer. YouTube link. The first Rec was the only movie I ever had to turn off because of it being too scary. Still ended up putting it back on the next night though, I had to see how it ended. Was going to say. The American remake isn't good, Quarantine, but the original Rec is terrifying. I watched Rec with my friend on a whim. We were walking by a cinema and wanted to watch a movie, so we decided, F it, this random weird one with the all-black poster it is. For whatever reason our stupid asses didn't expect it to be horror. And then, it was the original which is dubbed and it's found footage which I hate. Movie starts, and we're just making fun of it for being lame. Then the killing starts. And my friend looks at me like, oh, this horror? From that point onwards, we proceeded to all but crap ourselves as the film gets scarier and creepier with every minute. Even the next day, I was genuinely scared of any sudden sounds. To make matters worse, my whole family decided to leave me alone for the day, so I was sitting at home imagining every horrible scenario, and then some stupid kid just randomly screamed outside my house and for a second my heart literally ended up in my throat. Too long, didn't read ya great horror film. I am on a lot of horror groups and the most universally loved film is Train to Busan. It's a new classic, even among people who don't like zombies or subtitles. And it is streaming free on at least 4 major platforms, so easy to find. Really can't recommend enough. It's a shame the sequel is only a sequel in name. Peninsula was an effing letdown. #Alive felt more like a sequel to Train to Busan, like it could have been the same zombie outbreak, just in a different part of Korea. The Changeling, 1980, basically invented, I think, the horror thriller genre where the supernatural elements blend within a larger thriller plot with a human enemy. Bone Tomahawk. Let me just say, I'd call this movie a huge contender for most brutal horror movie death. That was horrific, but what haunted me most was seeing the wives in the cave. My brother had his birthday the other week and decided to take acid and watch this film with his girlfriend, and I was just like, why? I've tripped more than a few times and at no point have I ever thought let's watch an effing horror film, and out of all the films this is really up there. B/H/S. Slither, 2006, is one of my favorite sci-fi horror/comedy films. Great actors, plenty funny, and it doesn't shy away from well-done gore. If you haven't seen it, you must. Creep. Creep and Creep 2 were so damn good at being unnerving the whole time. As above so below, proper creepy vibes but really good. It's set in the Paris catacombs, which are freaky enough as it is, but the premise makes it proper dark. 10 tenths. Session 9. Pontypool. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. Fantastic film. High Tension. 1408. Overlord, 2018. It's about a small group of American soldiers who get parachuted into an old French town to sabotage a radio tower right before D-Day. Problem is, they quickly discover Nazis are creating monsters in the old town castle. Very fun movie. Audition. They said underrated horror film, not cheese grater to your sanity. The Descent, 2005, Nightbreed, 1990, a Clive Barker/David Cronenberg mashup. Creep, 2004, Resolution, 2013, and The Endless, 2017, definitely watch them in order. Southbound, 2015. The Tunnel, 2011, There, 2013, and Late Phases, 2014, both interesting takes on werewolves. Dead Calm, 1989, Ghost Ship, 2002, Below, 2002, The Ferryman, 2007, and Triangle, 2009, all good, all about boats. Hausu. I Saw the Devil. Korean movie. Event Horizon. I'm not a big fan of horror, but I am a sucker for Lovecraftian horror. This is one of my two favorites. The other also features Sam Neill, oddly enough, Into the Mouth of Madness. If you like A and haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend. As Above So Below. I've watched it twice because it's genuinely got that creepy claustrophobic nature to it, but also has that National Treasure vibe to it because they're trying to find the Philosopher's Stone. It's on Netflix, but it's got a low score on Rotten Tomatoes for some reason. Cabin Fever. It's not indie or anything, but I think it's grossly underrated. It has the perfect blend of humor and horror/gore. It Follows. The premise is difficult for some people to take seriously, but if you give it a chance, it's well worth it. The music is incredible and it's actually really scary in an old-school horror kind of way. Web link. The best parts were those long, sweeping shots that would go back and forth, like the one in the classroom, when you can't help but strain your eyes looking for it off in the distance. This movie was so good at building tension. My favorite is when they're on the beach and it is slowly walking towards them in the background, out of focus. At first, it looks like just one of the group, but they're all on screen. Cube. The Descent. The Endless. Mandy. I didn't really perceive this movie as a horror movie, but it's classified as one. Either way, it's pretty enjoyable. The Green Room. I love that movie so much, so weird seeing Patrick Stewart as a neo-Nazi though. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.